Welcome to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing expert Robert O'Haver, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
All right. Happy April, and hope too many people got fooled on April Fool's Day. But welcome to another episode of Search Talk Live. I'm your host, Robert O'Haver, along with Matt Weber. Matt, how's it going?
Hey, absolutely fantastic. Just coming out of a little bit of chocolate-induced comatose state from Easter, though. But I'm back. I'm here.
And I did a shot of espresso, so we should be good. Those of you tuning in for the first time, Search Talk Live is a digital marketing podcast where we talk everything to do, we try to anyway, with digital marketing. It could be search engine optimization or site optimization, I like to call it. It could be paid advertising. It could be social media, content marketing. We try to give something for everyone. I think content marketers and SEOs can benefit from a lot of our shows because, content is king.
Yeah, and last week we had a great show on marketing automation.
Yeah.
That was fascinating.
Absolutely. I do want to make an announcement. Last week, we really we hit a milestone, and I tweeted this out last week. I was just so excited because it's a little overwhelming to find out that your show has been listened to over 40,000 times.
That's incredible.
That's downloads and plays on mobile, and that's just on Spreaker, which is amazing. And we have over 5,000 followers now just on Spreaker alone, and we're syndicated through many different platforms that we don't even track. So I can't imagine how many people actually listen to the show.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know you're going to write handwritten thank you notes to each one of those people, right?
Yes. Yeah, sure. It's in the mail. Just wait for it.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yeah, thank you for your support and supporting the show. If you have questions during the show or just any questions, today we're covering a lot of SEO stuff. You can go on Twitter and type in hashtag Search Talk Live along with your question. We are monitoring that live right now. We'll answer it during the show if we can. Let's see what else. Oh, be sure and visit searchtalklive.com because there you can get up and coming shows. I've got April listed in May, I think, and I'm going to be updating that here soon. We've got a lot of amazing guests. We've got some people from Google coming on. I haven't put those up yet to solidify the dates yet, but a lot of good things coming up. A lot of amazing guests. That overwhelms me just that because the guest quality we've had on the show is just top notch.
It is, and I think about all the things that even I personally have gotten out of the shows.
Yeah.
The takeaways. And those continue to get better and better. It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. And people pay thousands of dollars just to go see these people speak and talk. And to me, it's very humbling.
Yeah, we're like a great conference without the hotel room.
Exactly. And the expense. But today, like I said, we're going to be talking about SEO. We're really popular in Australia and the UK. And our guest today is from the UK. She is an international SEO consultant. Her name is Dawn Anderson. Dawn, how's it going?
Good, thank you.
You're welcome to the show.
Me. Yeah, looking forward to chatting with you. I like a good chat. Yeah,
we're excited to have you. For people that haven't heard of you or know much about you, can you give us a little background on what you do and everything else?
Okay, so I'm an SEO consultant. I work with brands and startups, some enterprise brands, startups, quite large sites. And I also I lecture at the university, Manchester Metropolitan University, on search and digital marketing and marketing analytics to undergraduates. I speak at a few conferences from time to time, but mostly I love just geeking out, looking at sites, looking at code, trying to work out where Googlebot's going, why Googlebot is going there. So I'm a little bit obsessed with crawling and looking at things like server logs,
nice.
Server log files. Sorry,
because you're very technical and geeky like us.
Yeah, well, I love the marketing side of it as well.
Yeah.
But I like to shut the door sometimes on that and just get my head into to various bits of code and stuff. Yeah.
I think you downplayed your conference speaking. You do quite a few conferences, and you're a very high-profile speaker and well sought after. Where are you speaking next?
I'm speaking at a few things. I'm speaking at SMX London. I'm speaking, and that's in May. I'm speaking on the Digital Olympus online conference. So that's good because I don't have to move for that one. So I don't have to move off my seat. And then I'm speaking at MozCon. I got asked to speak at MozCon in July, and where else? Yeah, PubCon in Vegas. So yeah, quite a few conferences. Yeah.
Wow. She was downplayed. It's like, a couple of, you know.
Yeah, just maybe half a dozen of the biggest conferences in the industry. I'll be there.
Yeah. All right, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm looking forward to it because I'm, as well as obviously speaking at things, it's just great. I've made so many friends over the years at conferences and met so many people, and it's always really great to sort of catch up with them all and touch base and, I love it.
And you had an interesting lunch date at one of your conferences in Germany recently, right?
Well, lunch date. We kind of stood in the canteen area together. When I went to International Search Summit the day before SMX Munich, I had my lunch stood with John Mueller, so that was really interesting. Yeah, nice chat.
Nice, very nice.
He's looking good. He's gone on a diet probably 3 or 4 months ago, and he's lost a lot of weight. He's looking great.
Well, I really want to know what that is because seriously, I mean, I'm like you. I'm like so many chocolate Easter eggs.
Yeah, I told him. I asked him. He said he's just doing a lot of running.
Oh, wow, God! It must be all those mountains.
Playing a lot of Pokemon.
Running up mountains, then it's gonna like burn off some calories, isn't it?
Yeah, he's playing a lot of Pokemon Go too.
No, he's done well there, really well.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk today about a lot of SEO stuff. We're going to be talking canonicalization.
My least favorite word in all of SEO.
Right? Duplicate content, crawling efficiencies, you name it. We're gonna try and cover it in this hour. So why don't we get to it? Dawn, where would you like to start?
Well, it's entirely up to you. I suppose I could. I don't know.
Let's start with the concept that Dawn, I think you articulate better than anybody, which is what is the concept of crawl rank?
Well, it's a funny thing because a few years ago, I'd experienced something on a website that I've been working on where I ended up with what they call like an infinite loop where the site kind of spiraled out of control, pushing in parameters, URL parameters that pulled in all these strange variables. And what happened is loads of pages just got indexed. And then what happened is over time, the crawl on the site just went down, 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 down. And from there on in, I became a little bit intrigued with trying to work out what had happened. So I came across this notion, if you like, of crawl rank in that if you could get your low to low page rank pages crawled more often than your competitors, you could rank higher. But then that led me on another journey, and I started to dig into things around some of the old patents around things like crawl scheduling and crawl frequency, etc. And then I kind of came across this notion that actually it wasn't so much about getting pages crawled more often than competitors. It was about really emphasizing the important pages better than your competitors. So almost like a page importance notion, if you like, in crawling. So really, I mean, it's a strange thing. For me, there's not, if you like, a direct correlation between crawling and ranking. It's just about making sure that when your pages are crawled, the importance of them is indicated by if you like, an alignment of all signals from within a site to make sure that you stress very clearly when you have near duplicates that this page is more important than that page. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Yeah, kind of like the originator of the content.
Yeah. Like maybe back when they were trying to use that author tag to make sure that the bot indicated that this was the original author. of the
well,
content?
no, that's a little different. It's like so if you have multiple pages of the same content, you're pointing all those pages to that one to say, this is where we want you to index. This is the original.
Ignore these variants, these somewhat slight variants.
Right.
Exactly. But also, there is this, in a way, I hear so many people talk about the concept of crawl budget, and it is obviously a well-known term. But I almost hate that term in a way, because I don't think it's a great description of what's actually going on for me. I always think that it's really like this two-pronged notion, two notions working together. One is this notion of host load, what can this site handle, how many connections at a time, and the other one is obviously what is the importance of these pages and how often should they be crawled, because are they actually important to users and should we place priority on them?
Right.
So it's like importance and host load. So scheduling and host load together. But I still think that it's kind of quite a misunderstood concept still as such.
What are some of the other parts of the history of the Googlebot visit that the Googlebot uses to determine when to come back again?
Well, I mean, my understanding, obviously they're not going to necessarily tell us all of them, but I know that a huge amount of patents and some of the documents around scheduling that are used as patent citations, so academic journals that maybe make up some of the research in the past. They include things like, obviously, PageRank,
links back to the site.
PageRank, relative importance as well. So internal links, so a local importance, if you like, local within that website as such, so the number of internal links pointing to X page versus Y page, etc. Inclusion in an XML sitemap versus not being included in an XML sitemap. Change frequency, i.e. freshness and relevance, but not just any old change. So important substantive change, if you like. And there's quite a few others as well. Change frequency, substantive change, links, content, obviously, and for me as well, if a page is triggering a huge amount of impressions, it's a huge big piece of content and it triggers lots and lots of different impressions. For me, that's likely to get crawled fairly frequently because it's quite important in that it's obviously served quite a lot. So it's important that it's checked to see whether it's changed, popular page, So a load of different things, really.
Yeah, Don, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all right. Yeah, go on.
No, we just had a question from Twitter. It said, Drew Suze, I don't want to mess up your name. I'm just going to go with this question. Should we worry about the crawl budget if we do SEO in Bing search engine?
Well,
yes.
I would say that presumably most search engines have efficiency at their heart, and a lot of the academic journals the research is often by Microsoft. So just because Google's produced patents around frequency, etc., crawl scheduling, then so have Microsoft. So efficiency matters to all search engines. They're running a business. There's a cost per query. They're going to spend a lot of time on pages that actually inflate the corpus and don't actually contribute anything. Then we should generally be looking to focus on budget for every search engine. In my view, yeah. Yes, short answer.
What is your view on now? Let's say let's say your site's on WordPress and you have multiple copies, mostly probably due to tags or whatever. Should you be doing multiple duplicate pages or searching those out and maybe minimizing those, because that is that's part of your crawl budget? Yes,
I would say so. Ultimately, if you've got a tag book and then books, and I've seen this when I started working with clients in the past, you end up with, I mean, obviously tagging is like a form of folksonomy. It's like free tagging. Anybody can make it up.
Yeah.
So you literally have it. So people go a bit nuts actually once they start off with tags. I think they almost get like this kind of craze with it.
Yeah.
And literally any word that they can think of that pops into their head when they're like looking at a post, they start throwing in there as tags. I mean, sometimes they even put their own name in, you know, so suddenly they start to get visibility for their name.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at, like, in WordPress, you have, like, that popular tags thing, and you can guarantee you go and look at it, and there's this screaming out at you, this like, name that they've tagged in there, in the cloud, if you like.
Yeah.
The anchor they're kind of, because ultimately they are almost like, they're not anchors as such, but they are literally like, they're forms of data as such. But yeah, for me, I try and make sure that if I've got a post, I put it in one category. I know that you can now, using Yoast, you can say this is the primary URL, but you also have like multiple URLs that when you start tagging that go to the same content. So if somebody links to the wrong version because they find it somewhere, then suddenly end up with this dissipation of page rank. The signals get skewed.
Yep.
Also, for me, you're almost doing a little bit of content stitching. You're using a bit of content in this category that really is in that category. And I try and sort of keep it one category per post. It just keeps it simple because also what you tend to do is get then, if you add a canonical tag thinking, oh, well, actually, this is the category I really want it to be in, then you forget where you put that canonical tag or which one you did. You just end up in a mess if you're not careful.
No.
That's really great advice. You see that mistake a lot, don't you?
Yeah,
People
absolutely.
doing multiple categories for posts.
Yeah, and I mean, it
gets messy, to be honest.
Yeah, you brought up a really good point. As somebody links to that canonical page that's pointing to the original document, I mean, it does create a huge mess, and you know.
Well, just mixed signals, and for me, it's all about trying to align everything because maybe the signals individually, they'll no doubt all have like different weights anyway.
Yeah.
Because HTTPS, for instance, is going to be weighed more than a HTTP as a canonicalization, and other things as well. Obviously, 301s are a form of canonicalization, as are the other 30s. I think there's probably just one or two that aren't, like 304s, etc. But generally speaking, there's many ways in which you can canonicalize things. And there's many ways in which you can't, which a lot of people don't seem to understand either, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the point is, when you have all these different signals, if some of them weigh very little, but when you add them together, they weigh more than another, you get a mess if you're not careful. And more on older sites, because obviously you've got like this, you know, it takes ages for a Googlebot to crawl a page that hasn't been like visited for ages. You make a mess of the crawling, the signal that you're sending, and then you have to wait a long time again to get that page visited. So it gets harder the longer you go on with big sites.
Yeah, and after talking with John Mueller and Gary Elias about, duplicate content, there used to be this huge misconception, there still is, on that you're going to get penalized for having duplicate content, unless it's really
going around. It's like a never-ending myth, that one.
Yeah.
There's like, also I think what happens is people don't realize that actually duplicate. For me, there's 3 different types of similar content. Yeah, there's like duplicate, there's near duplicate, and then there's like similar content. Yeah. So for me, exact duplicates, they're just going to get filtered anyway. So that's like the equivalent of like HTTPS versus HTTP, or a page that literally has some capital letters in the URL versus lowercase, or some special characters that actually don't add anything as such to the actual exact match copy content. The content checksum is the same across both pages, but literally they're just like same content, different URL. Yeah. But see, they're exact duplicates, and they're always going to get filtered. Yeah. That's it. They're just one's going to get picked, and the other one's not.
Right, and that's the purpose of the canonical.
Yeah, but often in those sorts of cases, I'd probably always try to 301 those anyway, just because really, there's no value to having that content, both of those versions of that content in your site anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you can have like bits of content that are within a site. Actually, once somebody gets there, they're slightly different, but they're slightly interesting separately, if that makes sense. So they're there for the purposes of the user experience, the journey when somebody's actually within your site, but they're not necessarily for search, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Robert, what's your sense? Most duplicate content, let's say most, is really not created intentionally. It's kind of created accidentally a lot of times.
Well, and Google does pick up a lot of that, like tags we were just talking about. Google understands that because they...
That's not duplicate content. That's the point. That's not duplicate content. That's near duplicate content.
Right.
Yeah. There's a big difference because one is very easy for Google or search engines to detect because content checksum, same length, etc., exactly the same, straight away filter.
Mm-hmm.
But near duplicate, because of the dynamic nature of the web, those tags, lots of things around them could be changing. They don't add value, book and books. The problem is they're not as easy. I'm not saying that they're not easy, but they're not as easy to detect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where canonicals for me come in. But then you have the other one, which is similar content. But that, for me, almost, I'm not saying spray a load of similar content out into the web, but sometimes that similarity search can actually be beneficial. So, for instance, on the long tail, you can have on certain things, people are searching for long tail queries, but you can use the internal structure of the site to emphasize the nuances and the semantics, etc. Better. You can maybe do things like canonicalization. So that's like 3 different types of similar-ish content. So, one can actually add good signals within your site, similar-ish content, but add semantics as such.
Yeah. I mean, my recommendation on something like that, like if you, instead of duplicating content, trying to maybe refresh it, rewrite it, and then redirect the old page to the new page, and then...
Or merge things. Yeah,
exactly.
So merge content, really, that just answers the same query with the same kind of content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I see that a lot when people do blogs and they go a bit crazy and they're running out of ideas, and then they find that what they do is they start like producing content that actually is pretty much the same, but just coming from a slightly different angle.
Yeah.
So, for instance, they might say, gardening tips to start the spring of 2016. Next year, gardening tips to start the spring of 2017. They're pretty much the same. Why not just have like spring gardening tips, as a URL, and just keep building on these like pages, making them great, and then it's becoming like an evergreen content that you can just kind of use as like stock and flow, push out. You've updated it, you've made it better, you're nurturing these URLs over the years so they become increasingly powerful. You could maybe have like change the page title, from time to time so that it's current and relevant,
Mm-hmm.
But for me, always like grow the URLs as such, rather than, because you end up with this like every year redirection. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you end up with chains if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, you did a great presentation, and one of the things you talked about in the presentation, which you're an expert in, is server log analysis. What are some of the things that you look for when you're looking at server logs to give you a clue to improve your SEO?
Okay, I tend to look a lot for things like little chains, for instance, where things go like 302, 302, 301, 301, 200, that kind of thing. And really, it's kind of all just going to like the same final destination. So you've got like 5 URLs there that have been visited. So immediately I'll drill in on something like that and just chop it back so that it's a shortcut, if you like.
I see what you're saying. And, like we were just referencing, recreating articles, and you're 301 redirecting that same article every year or whatever. You've got a chain of redirects that you need to cut back down to one.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also another thing that I look out for are things like old XML sitemaps that people have left on the server. Again, the older the site, people tend to they've left things there, and it's not necessarily submitted any longer in Search Console, but Googlebot has an awareness of it because of the concept of like the history logs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's there, it knows it exists, and you'll find that even if those pages are like gone from time to time, you'll still get them hit. So I'll often ask the developers, if I'm working on a site, if they can see anything like at root on the site that maybe isn't necessarily indexed, but potentially is going to be wasted because Googlebot comes hunting for things that it knows existed. I know it's not necessarily... I remember asking John this in a Hangout, and I said, why does Googlebot just keep coming back to like 410? And he said, well, actually, it's not a big deal because we knew something was there once, so we just periodically, we'll go back and have a look, see if anything was there again, because we've already had a look at all the important things on your site for now. Yeah. For me, that almost indicates there's a little bit of spare capacity to have a route around, to see, that maybe you could, if you were making your other pages better, that spare budget, if you like, or spare capacity probably could be better spent on pages that you've increased the importance of as such. So for me, if you can get rid of things that are in legacy and that maybe are not easily perceived from the outside, just by having a look on the server or asking the developers to have a look on the server and see if there's anything there at root, like sitemaps, tech, that kind of thing,
mm-hmm.
And just chop it all back if you can. Yeah.
So if it's not helping you, it's hurting you.
A little bit, a little bit. Particularly on bigger sites where, as I said, if you mess something up, you might have to wait quite a while before that page gets visited again, So it's just essential, really, that you're on top of this and having a look. And for me, Googlebot kind of tends to get where water wouldn't. Just the minute you let Googlebot into a site section, then it's like, well, it goes, it's through things like a dose of salts, isn't it? And it's like got a list of all the links out of that section. It's in for queuing, comes back, just waste, really.
Yeah. Well, Don, we have to take a break for our sponsors. If you could hold there for just 1 second.
Find the true value of your home when you log on. HomeValue.com.
Search Talk Live is sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies. Check out robertpalmercompanies.com for more information.
All right. If you're just tuning in, we're talking with Don Anderson from the UK, expert international SEO consultant. And we're talking about crawl budget and canonicals and a lot of SEO geek stuff.
Yeah, we were on a path right before the break about talking about server logs, which I think there's a lot of SEOs listening to the show that says, man, that's not a part of my routine, my SEO routine. Don, how much time do you think for the SEO that's listening to the show and saying, I've got this plan that I do to optimize my site, how much time as a percentage of that should I allocate to examining my server logs? Where does that fit into the prioritization of optimization in your mind?
Depends. Well, it all depends, and it depends on the size of the site, and it depends on whether there's been historical issues in the past. If, for instance, a site has migrated to HTTPS or it's merged sites together, so, for instance, it may have taken a load of international subdomains and put them at a folder level, that kind of thing, I would say it's important and really crucial that you allocate quite a lot of time initially. It's just to see how that's all going and check the path that Googlebot's taking because it's relearning things as such. But if you've got like a small WordPress site and, you're a mom and pop I'm using your American terms there, but your small like brochureware site, I probably wouldn't even. It wouldn't for me massively be on the radar, yeah, because I don't know. I mean, we've got Google crawl stats in Search Console. For me, that's like a trip to the GP. That's a checkup. You go and have a look. You see if things are moving along. Just average behaviour. Then I wouldn't worry too much about going digging into server log files. But if you've got a huge site and the site is getting bigger, but the crawl is going lower in the stats, then I would be immediately starting to ask developers if I could have a sample of log files from maybe like the last month to see what's happening there. Yeah. So
that's good advice.
Yeah. So I don't think everybody needs to run out screaming saying, "Let me get to my server log files." No.
You got to translate it too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That they don't. When you look at them, it's a little bit of Greek when you look at them for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. But often, I mean, as long as they're, what I do is I get the developers to do like a grep, like a find on Googlebot only, so that like eliminates a lot of it. Because really, I'm looking for Googlebot, or say I was doing it for another search engine, obviously I'd look at some of the others, but that immediately takes a huge chunk of it out. Then I get them to just like put it into like a text file. Then I do like convert it to data and just put it into Excel, and then I can start to have a look at literally just filtering things. But obviously there are other tools out there as well now, like the Screaming Frog log analysis tool, and there's like loads of tools. I think some of the bigger enterprise crawling tools actually have it built in as standard as part of the offerings, if you like. So, but yeah, I mean, it's not as complex as people seem to think, seriously. But the average person, I don't think needs to literally have it as huge amount of time that they spend on it. It's only when there are issues.
Good to know. And thanks for the advice that going into Google Search Console and looking for a clue that something's wrong, that would lead you to start looking at the server logs.
Yeah, and also worth knowing this, in that the only thing you see in Search Console, well, bear in mind in Search Console, all the Googlebot's activities in there.
Right.
It's not just Googlebot, it's every bot, yeah, in there, yeah. So I'm talking about every Google bot, every type of Google bot, of which I think there's like 10 different types of Google bot. Yeah. So I've got, etc. Every bot is in there, yeah. But also that only shows you 200 and 30 codes, yeah. So 404s are not in there, yeah. 410s are not in there. Nothing 500 is in there. But what you will see is when you do a migration to a HTTPS or whatever, you will think, oh my God, I'm getting an absolutely crazy crawl here. You will get a bigger crawl, obviously, because HTTPS is important and Google wants to move that across. And it's like just a switch, really, you're literally just switching protocol. So actually, it's pretty easy to sort of migrate almost. It's not like you're restructuring anything. It's just literally a protocol switch. But what happens is you end up with this like 301, 200, 301, 200. So you end up with this hugely inflated like crawl stats in Google Search Console. And that a lot of that is the fact that you've got like two sites, two like hops as such, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the route.
Gotcha. You can find the 404s in the error logs on Search Console.
You can, but it's not actually listed in the crawl stats.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. You can find them, but they're not included in the graph. The graph of crawl stats, yeah. So it's only 300s and 200s that are there as such. I asked because I wasn't sure myself. Just wanted to clarify it, and I asked John on Twitter, and yeah, so
yeah. Kudos to those guys, John and Gary. Both of them have put themselves out there, especially John, as far as educating people and about Google and how search works. And
I don't know when he sleeps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just answering his Twitter is a full-time job.
And he's multilingual.
Yeah, he's multilingual, right. Amazing.
I can't believe it. He's brilliant. Obviously, he's brilliant at German. Oh, my God. Yeah. I wanted to go to his talk at SMX Munich, but it was all in German. I can't go. But no, they are good. I think they're really good, yeah. And I really like the Did You Know series that Gary's been putting out. I think it's really, really helpful.
I know about it.
Yeah, it's really good. And some of the lesser known things from how Google indexes things and how duplicates are served, and lots of things that are the lesser known items. But it won't stop people kind of always still coming out with these myths and saying things like, "Oh, duplicate content penalty," which, oh my God, I've heard that for the last 10 years.
Yeah. I'm amazed I still hear SEO is dead or dying.
I know. Well, I think that those who actually stop doing SEO would probably be the best testament to the fact that it isn't dead.
Or they're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Well, there was that whole wave, wasn't there, after Penguin, when people were like, "Oh my God, it's all SEO's fault," and none of us are doing SEO anymore. And then all of a sudden, nobody had optimized their site, and those that continued and just were like, "Well, actually, this is like just information retrieval and optimizing it for good information retrieval." Just carry on, and they're the winners, really.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. We've got 25 minutes, 24 minutes. Let's talk a little bit about crawl efficiency as far as leveraging those strategies to optimum effect efficiency in the site.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you want me to give you some ideas on
best practices for increasing the efficiency of your site? Obviously, speed is one. Those type of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, obviously, if Googlebot comes to your site and with a list of URLs to get round, so they don't, unless they don't know about a site, they don't come there without a shopping list as such. Yeah. Right. So Googlebot turns up at the site with a shopping list of URLs it wants to visit, and your site starts slowing down. There's poor connection. You're getting 500s, etc. So because they don't want to damage your server, Googlebot will back away. So unfortunately, that shopping list wasn't completed. So that has to go on to another visit. So really, ultimately, things like speed and good connectivity and checking things like server downtime, etc., are important, because you want to make sure that Googlebot gets round that shopping list every time it visits your website. Mm-hmm. And obviously, you also want to make sure that every time it gets there, it has a good experience and that it sees good and interesting, in so much as Googlebot can see interesting things as such. The better the content, for me, the better the experience overall. If something comes to visit, the kind of more it'll come back. Yeah, as such. Yeah. I remember recently that John was saying that, really, strictly speaking, the sign of a lower quality site is that they get crawled less often. Mm-hmm. And I was reading something when I just recently did my research for my dissertation about this notion of near duplicates and lower quality pages, in that there's potentially sampling that gets done. So a site, maybe a big site, has a huge amount of pages, but a lot of them are thin and near duplicates of each other, or lots and lots of things like filters and faceted navigations and wrong signals between them. And what will happen is there's potentially this activity whereby a small sample gets gathered in a crawl to see what the quality is like, if you like. Mm-hmm. And to pick up on almost some rules to understand maybe parameters within the site. And then if he comes back and finds that actually, it's not actually this great site, there's a lot of duplicates on it, a lot of mixed signals, we'll crawl it less and less and less. So for me, it's kind of, you want to really encourage the opposite. You want to actually get a little bit more crawling with each visit, because you're delighting the Googlebot almost, everything's aligned, the content is good quality, it's all well marked up as such. Not necessarily saying that that's going to make a massive difference, but obviously a good markup makes things really clear to understand, well-structured markup, disambiguation. So there's that. And then obviously things like siloing for me is still really good, making everything children and grandchildren really relevant to categories, and building really great category pages that pass a lot of strength down to the next level and the next level even beyond that. Because again, something else that I read when I was doing my research is I read something that talks about the transitive nature of near duplicate content. Now, whether this is being implemented, I can't say for sure, but I do recall that when there was an interview with Eric Eng, I can never work out whether to say it's Eng or Eng, but Eric from Campbell.
Yeah.
Which one is it? Is it Eng or Eng?
Ing.
All right. Okay.
Inga. Eric Inga. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So I was wrong on both counts. Anyway, I'll always remember that Gary, when he was interviewed, he said, if a grandfather is a good, or got grandparent page is good quality, we will call the children the grandchildren. So if you have a great page about types of trees or plant life or whatever, then the page that's about flowers and the page that may be about stems of flowers, they'll all get crawled, because they'll know that there may be better quality down that stem of or branch of a website as such. Now, when I was doing this research recently, and I read about the transitive nature of near duplicate content, it made me think of that, because what this piece of research actually said was that it kind of comes back to maths. It said, if A is a near duplicate of B and B is a near duplicate of C, then A is also deemed to be a near duplicate of C. So all of them, it kind of means that the whole tree is pretty much rotten as such, Yeah.
I want to go back to the beginning of your statement. So we could interpret crawl rate as a signal of organic rank strength. And by that, I mean, we've got two sites that both rank number one on different queries, and one of them has a very high frequent crawl rate. The other one has a very low crawl rate. Is the one with the low crawl rate more vulnerable? Its ranking is not as strong as the other?
So is there a correlation?
Yeah, right.
The thing is, one could be, I don't know, I don't necessarily think there's necessarily a correlation there. One could be like a fabulous evergreen piece of content that rarely changes, but everybody loves, And another one could be a page that constantly changes. It has half as much evergreen stuff, but it has this other really interesting fresh bit that constantly changes. So I don't know. Both of them would probably get crawled quite a lot because they're important for different reasons. One's important because it triggers a lot of queries. It's important to users, etc., and it has great, if you like, page rank. So it's obviously going to be considered. If you look at the notion of like breadth first crawling as such, which looks at things like the important pages before the deeper pages. That would always likely get hit several times, an hour maybe. And then the other one may not have as much page rank, but it might have great content that changes frequently. And, so for different reasons as such. So I don't know whether there would be a correlation for the same reasons as such.
But there is a correlation between frequency of change in content and the amount of times your site's crawled.
Right.
But if the change is only if the change is substantively is important.
Right.
You know, you get a lot of these sites that are just randomizing stuff because they think that that's going to like keep bringing Googlebot back or inflate their crawl rank, if you like. So, but I've got a sneaking suspicion that over time those patterns are detected anyway, and that they're learned as such. There was a really interesting piece of research that was done years ago by, I think the guy was called Dennis Fetterly at Microsoft. I think he was at Microsoft, and it was a study that was called Spam, Damn Spam and Statistics, and it actually looked at this. They were investigating why this site in Germany kept like ranking, and I think they were doing like loads of things by injecting like random content. There was actually gobbledygook, but it changed on every page load. So effectively, you know, you get a lot of sites that try to do that, randomize stuff on a page load type thing. And I think that they're kind of all over that, to be honest.
No, I agree with you. I mean, obviously, if you know, quality of the content and those type of things. But one thing I did want to get into real quick with you, that seems to get more and more important as it goes, is AMP for content. Yeah,
no. But I mean, I'm a fan of AMP in that I think there definitely needs to be a really big solution for the web because the content is flooding into it.
Yeah.
Obviously, efficiency doesn't necessarily get better at the same rate of the explosion of content, and obviously, user-generated content in particular is just everywhere. You know, we're kind of drowning in the sea of content, and people are obviously all moving. They want this content on their mobile as well because user behavior has moved ever more towards mobile.
Yeah.
More searches are done on mobile than desktop, etc. And unfortunately, a huge amount of sites are throwing in things like loads of scripts that have to all be queued up in the browser to load, and they have this awful fragmented experience. So something has to be done to fix it. Now, the only issue for me, and I'm doing a little bit of research around this ahead of a talk at SMX London, the only issue for me is that the rate of dev, I mean, it's open source by nature. And obviously you've got all these developers. I keep an eye on like the GitHub channel, and the rate of dev is amazing. It's so fast. There's so many developers on board with it. But for me, it's almost becoming increasingly developer-centric, and it's kind of supposed to be for search. And a lot of people in search are primarily, well, some of them may be technical, but a lot of them are more marketers than technical people. So for me, the people that can actually push the case for AMP within organisations tend to be marketers, or they're in marketing positions. And I think it's important that whole like going off on this whole massively dev-centric language doesn't forget that the people that need to understand how it works and the reasons for it and, you know, implementation of it are not left behind in that they suddenly think, I don't understand it, and switch off. Let's just leave it for now. So it's just important, I think, that they like don't spend so much time bringing new additions to it before everybody else has managed to catch up with the basics. For instance, the WordPress plugin, at the AMP WordPress plugin, I was having a look at that, and support for it is really, really struggling. It's overwhelmed with the amount of people that are downloading it. But then there's quite a lot of reviews saying things like, oh, you know, the support's non-existent, it's been abandoned, this plugin. You know, that plugin is probably used by, you know, if you take the example of the UK business universe, I think something like 99% of businesses, according to last year's parliamentary document on the state of business in the UK that gets released by the House of Commons every year. So 99% of the businesses in the UK are SMBs, if you like, SMEs, That's like they employ 0 to 250 employees. But 96% of them employ 0 to 9 people, So a huge amount of people that have probably not got enterprise websites. They've probably got brochure sites. They're probably using CMSs like WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, that kind of thing.
Right.
So they can't afford to leave behind these people that maybe haven't got the huge dev teams that the likes of Pinterest have, or eBay, etc. Yeah.
Right.
So that's my thoughts on that at the moment. Yeah. Just it's great to see that it's implementing now with progressive web apps and the next generation, etc. But unfortunately, I think the first generation's still not caught up yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's an open project, so I mean, there's hundreds of developers on this project, and you're right, though. I mean, there's very little support for it and millions of users.
Exactly, but the enthusiasm is there. People. I'm talking about the enthusiasm for it. Generally speaking, I think people want to. They understand that the web needs to be fast. That users' experience needs to be fast. Yeah. I mean, the conversion on mobile is just appalling, generally speaking. Anyway, just for e-commerce, for instance, I think it's something like 2%. It's really, really very poor. I can't remember if I've got those statistics right, but I was just reading about it the other day. But it's really poor anyway, because we have this whole research on mobile, purchase offline type thing. Mm-hmm. At the same time, if it's not a good experience on mobile, then you're not going to browse websites. Yeah. So it's important that something gets done. The enthusiasm is there, but the problem is, as I say, it has to be, the education needs to come with it.
Yeah. I mean, you really have to do it, because, I mean, I've seen time and time again where a site go from, just a regular responsive site to using AMP pages on their blog, and rankings probably jump up 5-10 spots in ranks. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just from the load time alone, that was huge.
And also, I think consider the abandonment. That's just going to drop.
Yeah.
But the amount of people that abandon are just going to drop through the floor. In that, you're going to get more people dwelling for longer. If you manage to speed things up, and I don't know. For me as well, the UX is like the big thing, because there's only a limited space on a mobile.
Yeah.
And this is really, I think, where e-commerce really struggles, because you've got all these products, this inventory. How are you going to get people? It's not like a desktop. How are you going to get people to buy? I think going forward there'll be a huge move towards things like this notion of. I was reading about something called anticipatory marketing the other day, that actually uses data and intelligence and past data to predict the things that people are likely to want to buy. Yeah. So that you can then have that on the screen. So it's all really intriguing how it's all going to play out.
Yeah,
it is. And speaking of things that people want, Dawn, people want you to play our new segment called Leave It or Believe It, where we have found things that somebody has written on the internet, and we're going to ask you to tell our audience, should they believe it or should they leave it? Are you ready?
Go on then.
All right, you're first.
All right.
Believe it or leave it is that by the end of 2018, half of all Google searches will be voice search. Believe it or leave it?
By the end of which year, sorry?
2018.
Drum roll.
Probably, yeah, believe it. I'll believe it. Yeah.
Wow.
Believe
Really? Wow. I was going to leave that one.
Yeah.
All right, my turn.
It's a bit close, that, but yeah.
What'd you say?
Maybe it's a bit close, but I have belief in voice search.
Yeah.
Impressive.
My whole house is Google Home.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
wow.
Let's see. All right, here's the next one. Title tags are the most overrated element in current common SEO practices. Believe it or leave it?
I believe that. They are overrated, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah. I think they're massively overrated when you look at other things.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, you got the
All
last
right, last one. Believe it or leave it. I think we know your answer on this one, but it's been written. Google's AMP project is not catching on, and can therefore be ignored by SEOs. Believe it or leave it?
Well, this is can I only answer with a simple believe it or leave it?
You got to start there.
So I would say believe that it's not really catching on yet, yeah, but don't leave it, because I think they just need to be a bit better at helping people to learn.
Yeah.
I wouldn't leave it, because you'll eventually get left behind. But people need help getting over the learning curve, or up the learning curve.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's
awesome.
Well said. Dawn, I want to thank you for being on the show. It's been awesome. We've enjoyed having you, and we love the accent. So
we do.
We have to get some more English people.
We do.
Glad to be of help with the accents.
We're the ones with the accent, right?
Yeah.
But your knowledge and everything has been very helpful to our listeners, and maybe we can do it again sometime. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I really enjoyed it. Thank you for asking me to be your guest. I really appreciate being asked.
Yeah, I've been trying to get you on for a while.
Yeah, thank you. Very kind of you. Yeah, appreciate it.
So, if people want to get you on Twitter, how can they get to you? Ask you questions.
Well, I'm just at Dawnieando, DAWNIEANDO. So I have a very simple Twitter name, Dawnieando. So find me there. And I'm usually quite chatty on there. Yeah, I love a good natter.
Nice. Well, it's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's been another episode of Search Talk Live. I think it was pretty good. What do you think?
Man, I got a page of notes just from her comments, just for myself.
And we do this every week. Imagine that. But those of you, thank you for listening to the show. Please go to our website, Search Talk Live. Sign up to the newsletter there. It gives you up-and-coming shows. Also on the homepage, there's a list of all the guests that are coming up. We have a whole host of people scheduled to be on the show. We have Marva Greaves. We're going to be talking email marketing next week. We have, Maddie Carey of Pointed. We have Dixon Jones. We have Kevin Richards. And Stephen Spencer is back again for, I think, round 3.
That's right. I was on his first show, and if you are running a website that's about conversions and getting people to do things, you got to check out that show.
He's written one of the holy grails of books when it comes to SEO. With,
right.
Him and Eric Ing and Rand Fishkin wrote the Art of SEO,
right?
Which is a fantastic book. If anybody's in the industry and doing SEO, they've probably heard of that book. And he gives a lot of good information. So, I mean, we got a lot of people come. We have some people from Google. I'm not going to announce it yet because I haven't finalized the date yet. We have quite a bit going on. But please follow us on Twitter. We are at Search Talk Live. If you have questions for me or Matt, you can hit Matt up at searchtalklive.com, me, Robert, at searchtalklive.com, and Michelle. Big shout out to her for live tweeting the show during the show. And she's also our guest when Matt can't come in and make it. So special thanks to her for her support and spreading the word with the show. And all the listeners, check us out on Spreaker. And if you live in the U.S., you can also go to iHeartRadio, where if you love the show really a lot, you can listen to us 24/7 on iHeartRadio. Can you imagine?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like I said about Spreaker, if you go there and if you're listening to us there now, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We have a lot of good guests, like I said. A lot of great information you can't get anywhere else unless you read hours upon hours of blogs and content and go to these, SMX, PubCons, that type of stuff. So, yeah, I think you're getting it all right here. So join us next week. I think we're going to have a great show. Matt, is there anything you wanted to add?
Hey, just thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks for your support, guys. Bye-bye.
Find the true value of your home when you log on. HomeValue.com.
Search Talk Live is sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies. Check out robertpalmercompanies.com for more information.